You know that feeling when you're driving and you realize the low fuel light has been on for 10 miles? It's not a panic, not yet. It's a low-grade humming anxiety in the back of your skull. You start doing mental math. How far is the next exit? Should I turn off the AC to save a drop? You aren't really focused on where you're going anymore. You're just focused on not stopping.
For a lot of us, that's exactly how our relationship with money feels every single day. We aren't driving toward a destination. We're just trying to keep the engine from cutting out in the middle of the highway. It's exhausting. It's a cognitive tax that stays running in the background of every conversation, every meal, and every night's sleep.
But then something happens. You hit a number. For some, it's 10,000. For others, it's more. But there is a very specific, almost magical shift that happens at the $5,000 mark.
It's not enough to retire. It's not enough to buy a house or quit your job and move to an island. In the grand scheme of wealth, $5,000 is a rounding error. But in the architecture of the human brain, it's the difference between being a prey animal and being a person again.
Today I want to talk about why that first 5,000 is the hardest, the most important, and the most transformative money you will ever see. It's not because of the interest it earns or the things it can buy. It's because of what it does to your soul.
We're often told that saving money is a math problem. If you just skip the latte or use the spreadsheet or grind harder, the numbers will go up. But if it were just math, we'd all be rich. We know how addition and subtraction work.
The reason saving is so hard and why that first 5,000 feels impossible is because poverty, or even just living paycheck to paycheck, is a psychological trap. It's what behavioral economists call scarcity brain. When you have nothing in the bank, your brain stays in the amygdala, the fight-or-flight center. Every unexpected noise your car makes is a potential catastrophe. Every "we need to talk" from your boss is a threat to your housing. You are constantly scanning the horizon for the next thing that's going to break. And when you live in that state of high cortisol, your decision-making actually changes. You stop thinking about next year. You stop thinking about next month. You're just trying to survive the next 48 hours. This is why people in financial stress sometimes make bad decisions, buying something small and comforting that they can't afford, because when the future looks like a dark room, the only thing that matters is a little bit of light right now. Most financial gurus will judge you for that. They'll tell you that you lack discipline. But I think they're wrong. I think you're just tired. It's hard to build a cathedral when you're currently drowning. The hurdle of the first 5,000 is so high because you're trying to build a foundation while the ground is still shaking. You're trying to save while every part of your lizard brain is screaming at you to spend, to soothe, or to just survive. But here's the secret. Once you cross that threshold, the physics of your life begin to change. Let's look at what $5,000 actually is. It's a buffer. It's a shock absorber. Think about your car. If you have $50 in your bank account and your alternator dies, that's a tragedy. It's a week of missed work. It's a high-interest credit card balance you'll be paying off for 2 years. It's a fight with your partner. It's a spiral. But if you have $5,000 in the bank, that same broken alternator is just a Tuesday. It's an inconvenience. You call the mechanic, you pay the bill, you're annoyed for 20 minutes, and then you move on with your life. When you have that cushion, you stop being a victim of your own life. You start to realize that most of the emergencies that used to keep you up at night are actually just expenses. And once an emergency becomes an expense, it loses its power over you. The math of it is interesting too, though it's less about compound interest and more about momentum. Getting from 0 to 1,000 is an uphill battle against your old habits and your old fears. But getting from 4,000 to 5,000, that feels like a victory lap. You've proven to yourself that you are the kind of person who can hold on to money.
It's not get out of work forever money, but it is I don't have to take your overtime if I don't want to money. It's I can afford to look for a better job for a month money. It's the very first taste of freedom, and once you taste it, you never want to go back to the way things were before.
I want you to think about the last time you felt truly pressured to do something you didn't want to do because of money. Maybe it was staying in a toxic relationship because you couldn't afford the security deposit on a new place. Maybe it was letting a client treat you like garbage because you needed that specific check to clear by Friday. $5,000 is a wall between you and the chaos of the world.
When you reach this point, your relationship with time changes. Paycheck to paycheck living is a high-frequency lifestyle. Everything is fast, everything is urgent. When you have a gap between your income and your expenses, your life starts to slow down. You can afford to wait. You can afford to buy the better quality boots that last 5 years instead of the cheap ones that fall apart in 6 months. In economics, they call this the poverty trap, the idea that it's expensive to be poor. You pay more for everything because you can't afford to buy in bulk, you can't afford to maintain your health, and you can't afford to wait for a sale.
So, how do we actually get there without feeling like we're punishing ourselves? If you're at zero, or if you're underwater, 5,000 feels like a million. It feels like a mountain you're trying to climb in flip-flops. The trick isn't to think about the 5,000. The trick is to focus on the first 500. $500 is the starter kit for dignity. It's enough to cover a flat tire or a broken microwave. It's the first brick in the wall.
And I want to be very clear. This isn't about hustling until you burn out. It's about a slow, quiet, almost boring consistency. It's about looking at your life and finding the leaks. Not the big stuff usually, but the small, recurring convenience costs we pay because we're too tired to plan. Maybe it's the subscriptions you don't use. Maybe it's the habit of eating out because you didn't have the mental energy to grocery shop.
Don't cut those things out as a punishment. Cut them out as an investment in your future sanity. Every $20 you don't spend on something you'll forget by tomorrow is $20 that is buying you a minute of peace later on. Think of your savings account not as a pile of cash, but as a collection of hidden hours. Every dollar in there is time you've captured. It's time you won't have to spend stressing. It's time you won't have to spend working a job you hate just to keep the lights on. And as that number grows, from 500 to 1,000, from 2,000 to 3, you'll notice something strange. You'll start to care less about the things you used to think you needed. The dopamine hit from a new purchase starts to feel weak compared to the deep, steady satisfaction of seeing that balance stay put. You realize that the stuff was just a distraction from the anxiety. And now that the anxiety is fading, you don't need the distraction as much.
If you aren't there yet, if your bank account is a source of shame or fear, I want you to take a breath. You are not a failure. You are living in a system that is designed to keep you spending and keep you productive by keeping you afraid. The fact that you're even thinking about this, that you're even watching this, means the shift has already started. You're starting to see the invisible walls of the maze. The journey to $5,000 isn't a race. There is no leaderboard. There is no one to impress. There is only you, and the version of you 6 months from now who wants to be able to breathe a little easier. Progress isn't a straight line. You might save $2,000, then your transmission goes, and you're back to $500. That's okay. That's what the money was for. The money did its job. It protected you. You didn't lose progress. You successfully navigated a crisis without a scar. You just start again, because now you know you can do it. $5,000 won't make you rich, but it will make you free in ways that $1 million sometimes can't. It gives you back your mind. It gives you back your choice. And most importantly, it gives you back your hope. Take it one step at a time, not because you have to, but because you deserve to know what it feels like to stand on solid ground.